Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the morning show right here on Main Street TV, where it is a little cooler than it was yesterday, but every day like yesterday is one that's not like, 4 degrees outside. Welcome, girls.
Hi. Welcome.
How y'all doing?
Great.
Very, very good. And we are going to talk about all things, I guess kids first today, right?
Yes. That's right.
Yes, so these two beautiful ladies are chairing the Kids First Committee, and that is the committee kind of heading up the levy situation here in Jackson. And you all are here today just to talk some information and to throw the facts out there, because there's so much... I don't know, like you just hear, everybody turns to social media and then it's just like diarrhea and it just goes every which direction and you just never know what's correct and what's not. So we asked y'all to come in here today and talk about facts and, what's going on. So first off, tell everybody who you are and what's your involvement with the committee.
I'm Tina Fulks, and I'm one of the co-chairs for the Kids First Committee.
I'm Kat Rinehart, the other co-chair, and then we're each heading up we have a bunch of subcommittees, and so I'm heading up the activities subcommittee because I have some ties with the Jackson High School Band, and then Tina's doing activities. Or events.
The events.
And the events.
Sorry.
Okay,
The events.
very good. And you girls are working very hard along with a lot of other volunteers who are, just trying very, very hard to put our kids first here in Jackson City Schools and get the information out. And, no one wants to have a levy on the ballot. No one wants to pay more money than they have to.
Exactly.
But maybe today you'll find out some information and you can make the decision for yourself one way or the other. We're not here to tell you what to do. We're here to give you information, and that way correct information, and that way you can make up your own mind. So I'll tell you what, we do have a message, and then we'll be back, and we're going to talk some facts about this Jackson levy and all about our kids, and that's the most important thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, we'll be right back.
At Vinton County National Bank, we believe in supporting the areas where we live and work. Now, we'd like to honor those who also serve our communities. Our new Community Champions account is especially for first responders, veterans, active military, and anyone employed in the fields of healthcare or education. This account offers rewards, discounts, and other benefits to those who give so much to others. Vinton County National Bank, rewarding those who serve.
All right, and we are back with our two chairs from the Kids First Committee, Tina and Kat, and welcome. And we are so happy to have you here. You all have brought a wealth of information today, and we're going to get to some facts. Let's talk about, how did this Kids First Committee, come to be? How did it form?
Well, I think as soon as we realized that there was a problem with the funding, the state funding for the school district, then people that were really concerned about this, we decided we were going to have to form a committee, and the primary goal of the committee was to provide accurate information to educate the public so that they would know exactly what they were voting on and why.
Sure, absolutely. And let's back up for a minute and talk about why this levy is being put on the ballot in the first place, because I think that's where the wheels come off as far as misinformation goes and opinions.
Yeah, so the state of Ohio they came up with a fair school funding formula a few years ago that they were on track to implement. And then that was not fully implemented, and that cut $4 million from Jackson's budget for the upcoming years. And then we had additional money taken out of the budget to go for vouchers to private schools.
So, and I remember talking about this or hearing about this first off, and the first thing that went through my mind is we don't have private schools.
Right.
We're not a big
Limited.
city that has any amount of private schools to send their kids to. Right. So basically we in rural Appalach, and let's just be honest, we're not the wealthiest community in the world, are getting our money cut because of vouchers to send kids to private schools that we don't really have here.
Exactly. We only
It's
have
super confusing.
one private school in the whole county.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all we
Which
have.
would be CLA.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think they're doing that so that you can have a choice. But I believe that we
Yeah, but we don't
already
have
do
a
that.
choice.
Well, we offer a choice in the fact that we have open enrollment. So other children from other school districts or whatever can open enroll into our school district. So they do have that choice. But I feel like this budget cut has taken away or will take away programs and services that our school currently funds, and therefore will decrease our students' choice because they no longer have like some of the classes, some of the services
Sure.
available for them. So that's kind of decreasing their choice.
And I look back and I think about, and this is just Jen's opinion on this, like when I was in high school a few years ago, you didn't, I felt as if, when you were from Jackson, you didn't have the kids going to Yale and
Right.
West Point and all of this stuff. And I just didn't feel like we had as much option as we did or as they do now. And I'm so proud that we do have kids going to Ivy League
Right.
schools, and we have kids going to the military academies, and we have all these kids doing this amazing stuff. And it's because of our wonderful teachers and
Yeah.
schools and
Right.
the funding that we've had and all of that. It hasn't taken away. Well, now that's what we're facing.
Yeah, we have
And it's
incredible
terrifying.
teachers doing a lot of. I had a senior graduate last year, so went through that whole process. I went to college a really long time ago, so I don't
No, it's
remember.
a few years ago.
A few
It's
years
a few
ago.
years ago.
But
It's always a few
changed.
years. Yes,
It's changed since
big
I
time.
went to school. So
Yes,
having guidance counselors and teachers to advise them on how to put their essays together,
Yeah.
and their
Applications,
applications, and all of those things and activities that they should be working on.
And these scholarships these kids are getting and,
Right,
and
yeah.
whatever. I mean, it wasn't heard of back a few years ago when we were in school. And, so it's so impressive what our local school districts have accomplished. And again, that's my opinion. But, all of that's being threatened right now.
Exactly, because a lot of the classes that they take, some of them are smaller classes, smaller size, and if we lose teachers, then obviously class size is going to make a difference. It'll increase.
Sure, absolutely. And we all know that obviously, one-on-one learning is wonderful. So, okay, so back to the state fibbed and said each school district is going to get this, and Jackson gets this, and Wellston gets this, and Benton County gets this, and Oak Hill gets this, and blah blah blah, and throughout the entire state, and then they JK'd us all.
Yeah, we
Right.
get significantly less money per student than other districts around us.
And why is that?
My understanding is they felt like that we could get it from our community, that we are a wealthier community. Jackson is supposedly wealthier than some of our neighboring school districts. And
So
they
they're
just
means
want us
testing our
to-
kids.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, okay. That's fair. And let's give vouchers to students that we don't have any way to use. Okay, awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, that's great. All right, so that then sets us into panic mode because it's like, oh my gosh, we're trying to be proactive here and not reactive. And what I mean by that is the school board and Superintendent Phil Howard and many other folks got together. And if you remember, Phil Howard was here, I think in the fall, if my memory serves me correctly, and said this could happen. This could be where we are unless something changes from the state Well, obviously things did not change from the state, so here we are facing a levy.
Right.
And we warned that this could happen, and y'all are thinking ahead, because it's not necessarily the school district is like bankrupt tomorrow or anything. It's
Right.
it's like we're trying to think ahead so that we are not without budget.
Yep.
I think that's
looking
kind
a
of-
few years out and saying this is what we need to make by 2027 or 2028.
So what are we facing?
A 1.25 earned income tax levy that will be on the ballot on May 5th. And this is an earned income tax levy, which is a little different in that, first of all, you have to live in Jackson City School District in order to vote and
Okay.
to participate in this levy. You have to live in the Jackson City School District. And then earned income means that it's only for people who actually earn a paycheck, earn an income. So if you are retired, you're on Social Security, if you are on a retirement system, if you are on disability, none of that is taxed. It's only on an earned income, or if you actually receive a paycheck.
Okay, so let's clear this up, because I'll be honest with you, I'm a little bit confused. And as somebody who has a business and has to do payroll,
Sure.
I'm sitting here thinking, because there's so many other ways that levies have gone on, and like the city of Jackson has a 1.5% income tax, but that's for people that work within the city.
city.
Work or live within the city.
Yeah. So
This is different.
so
So
let's
this- yeah.
get to the details of it so that people aren't so confused.
So because this is for the school and kids typically go to school where they live.
Okay.
It's only if you live in Jackson City School District
Okay.
that you can vote for this levy and that you would pay the tax if it passes.
So if you work within the Jackson City School,
And you live in Oak Hill, you don't pay it.
okay.
If you live here and work in Oak Hill or Wellston, you do pay it.
Right, because
Yeah,
you
'cause that's where
live
you live.
within the
school
district.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's not just the city, it's the whole district.
And this is also gets a little confusing because of what Tina just brought up, is that we do have open enrollment. So some people may be a little confused on that. Well, my kid goes to Oak Hill, but I live in the Jackson City School District.
So they will pay because that's where they
Correct.
live. And we recognize that we have students coming from other school districts, and maybe they live in Oak Hill or Wellston or wherever, and they come in, they won't be paying. So, I mean,
It all
it's
comes out
gonna
in the
go
wash.
both ways.
But
Yes.
a few points that were brought up at one of our meet and greets that we had recently is those open enrolled students, the district does get money from the state for those students. So it is advantageous for us to keep open enrollment and keep bringing those kids in,
Exactly.
even if their parents live somewhere outside the district and are not paying this tax.
Okay.
We are still receiving money.
Right. That's how the state
them.
pays. They pay so much money per child. And so if we have children, open enrollment from other school districts, then yes, she's correct that the school district does receive money for that.
Okay, all right. And so, to kind of just, I think, sum this up, basically the state said they were going to pay X amount to our local school districts and every school district
Right.
throughout the state, and then they changed their mind.
They changed the way they funded it.
And
And some of
you
the
can
money
get
that-
mad or glad or upset or,
Right.
whatever about that, but that is a fact, and it has nothing to do with overspending or
Right.
mishandling of money.
Our problem with Jackson City Schools, it's not a spending problem, it's a funding problem.
Yeah.
What they were expecting to receive from the state, they did not get. And then they changed how they're going to fund in the future.
Right.
And so it came to a total of what, they should have been funded. It's about $6 million
Whoa.
approximately.
And okay, so you all have hosted some meet and greets along the way, and have had really great attendance. This Kids First Committee has had an enormous amount of volunteers and all that. So I think that's really cool. What are the main questions, concerns, facts that people aren't understanding? You know, what are some of the things that you're hearing that we could clear up today?
People want to make sure that if they're going to be spending more money towards the school, that the school is spending their money wisely.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the questions have been very detailed around facilities, salaries, administration, numbers of teachers, all kinds of detailed questions that they've had. And the committee and the district and the school board has been very upfront about sharing that information. We don't want to trick anyone into voting for this. We just want to give everyone the facts and make sure that we answer their questions.
Yeah, and that's, again, why you're here today, because I think that, again, you get on Facebook or social media or whatever, and people just start spewing stuff out, and you have no idea what to believe or you know, what their intentions are, I guess.
Right, and the school district had to come up with a list of cuts to make it balance the budget. You know, they had to come up with a list, and so there is a list of cuts that if the levy does not pass, then these cuts will be implemented in the 26-27 school year, so next fall.
Next fall, and again, I you know, this is my opinion, but I have to commend the superintendent, school board, and all that. They're faced with a no-win situation. They had to be proactive, and they had to go ahead and say, well, this is our plan. If this levy doesn't pass, this is what's going to happen. And what do you say to those that say, well, that's just a scare tactic?
Well, they needed to let the staff know if their jobs were being eliminated potentially if this doesn't pass, because right now is a key time, and over spring break is a key time for other districts to hire. And so it's only fair to them that if their job is potentially on the line, that they're given the opportunity to apply for other jobs other places. So that was one main reason for announcing the cuts before this election.
Okay. And there will be 17 positions or staff losing their jobs if it doesn't fail or if it doesn't pass. But we're also going to lose, and I think this is a very important part, we have preschool program. We have four, across the 3 schools, I believe there are 4 preschool classrooms that we will no longer be able to fund. So obviously the preschool teachers will lose their positions, but I mean, that's very important for early childhood education, preparing them for kindergarten, those children, and, you know, where are they going to go?
Well, here's the problem with that, and I had this discussion with a parent the other day who has one child who is getting ready to be preschool age, and he said, I didn't know. Like, people give birth and get their kids on the preschool list. Like, he said, I just called one day and they were like, well, are you on the list? And I was like, no. Why? Is there a wait list? And they were like, yeah. So there's this huge wait list in our area for preschool anyway.
Right.
And I mean, we were kind of joking about it, but he's like, I mean, if we don't have these preschool classes, I don't even know what parents are going to do, because there's a wait list anyway.
Yeah.
It's scary.
It is
to think about. Man, and he was like, I feel like I'm the worst parent on earth. I was like, no.
We also, one of the programs, another important program that will be lost, Talented and Gifted. That program's been around for a number of years now, and that's it just provides so much more for children who are gifted or talented, and helps enhance their learning, and that'll be a program that we will no longer have. Also, I think at the middle school there's I think it's called industrial arts, I believe, or something like that. That'll be a program that'll be cut as well. So there are quite a few. And then the intervention, this is very important, I believe. The intervention program, we will lose several intervention teachers.
Okay, what is that?
So, for example, if a student maybe is a little bit behind, maybe not on grade level. Okay. So then they have smaller classes, like say maybe 7 students, as opposed to, 18 or 19.
Okay.
The 7 students and that teacher's an interventions teacher, and they are helping that child. There's individual, a lot more individual work with the children.
Maybe
and
they just
help
have a reading
them-
issue or
right,
something.
and maybe and help hopefully bring them up to grade level.
I get
And so
that.
we have several of those. There will still be some intervention teachers, but here again, some of those children will be put into a regular classroom. And, in a classroom, we have some children that are talented and gifted. You have the middle group, and then you have some children that need just a little extra help.
Yeah.
And then that classroom's going to have larger numbers. So then the teacher has to try to do, teach to all of the students. It'll just be more difficult.
Sure, absolutely. All right, so when is this issue on the ballot?
May 5th.
Okay, so the
It's
primary
May 5th.
election is coming up.
Yes.
This is what happens with these elections. They just sneak up on you.
They do.
They really do. So basically, you're voting for the future of our schools and our children. If you live in the Jackson City School District.
Right, correct.
So let's talk numbers. I'm sure that you all have it broken down per income. What does that mean? Because people start talking about millage and all this, and nobody understands what the heck that means.
Correct. So basically, if it should pass, based on the average $66,000 earned income, the cost daily would be $2.26, and then yearly, as you can see there, about $825.
Okay, for an individual.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, correct. With an average salary of $66,000.
Okay.
And then if it doesn't pass, there are other financial implications for students in school because not only are we losing teachers, but we'll be going to pay to participate. So that means pay to play for sports. It means pay to participate for extracurriculars like band, choir, drama,
Right.
quiz bowl.
So here's the interesting thing about this, and Phil brought this up, and it never dawned on me, but the way he broke it down was pretty interesting. So if you're looking at that yearly salary or yearly what it would cost you
Right.
that's circled up there, if you have like a couple of kids in school and they play sports, you will be paying more
Right.
than that
Correct.
potentially for your children to participate than you would if you were just paying that yearly
Correct.
amount, because the cap is what, at $1,000 or something like
Right,
that for
per
more
family.
than one, for a family of children.
Correct.
The other thing we'll be losing is right now we have free breakfast and lunch for all Jackson City School kids.
Okay,
All students.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the way that happens is a little complicated, but if we don't have the money to pay into the program, we can't receive the
grant.
free money, basically. So we'll lose that, and the only students that would get the free breakfast and lunch would be those that qualify based upon their parents' income, and they would have to submit the paperwork for that.
Okay. Which
Kind
can
of
be,
how it was a few years ago before COVID.
sure, which can be challenging and confusing.
Well, yes, and also with that, if we lose the program where all children can receive the breakfast and lunch for free, then, as she said, only the children who qualify based on family income can receive that. And what I found is that maybe at the elementary levels, maybe you'll have a certain percentage of the school is free reduced price meal program participates. And those three, just like in Jackson, those three elementaries feed into one middle school. So if they're averaging, I'm just going to throw out a figure, if they're averaging 45% free reduced price meal program, you would expect the same thing for middle and for high school because, it's the same families. But what we find is as they get older, I think they don't want to sign up for it. The students don't want to sign up for it.
They could be embarrassed
It
or
could-
for
exactly.
any
Could
number
be
of
embarrassed
reasons.
or whatever,
Yeah.
and the numbers fall, they drop. But It is correct that if the child does qualify based on income and the family has to sign them up for the program, then they will still be able to continue that. I think we were told the other day that the food service program for Jackson City Schools has grown with this, because now any child that's hungry can go up and get some breakfast. If you want something else, you can go get, a second sandwich or whatever for lunch or breakfast.
Listen,
because of this.
And if anybody, I don't have kids, but I understand that if you have teenagers, boys
yes.
or teenagers in general, they're bottomless pits.
Right.
Because,
right.
and you get that. There's hormones and they're growing. And
Sure.
I mean, you're trying to feed this
Right.
body that's doing all kind of crazy stuff.
And the way it is, no one knows what your income is. If you're going up to get something, getting your food.
Yeah.
So there's
Sure.
Hungry kids can't be good in the classroom. They're just
100%.
too distracted.
right.
I mean, I know we all get hangry, right? Like, we know what that
That's
means.
right.
Like, it's a thing. And, if you're hungry on the daily, you definitely can't be at your best.
Also, I think in Jackson City Schools, I think, are known for having such a wonderful music program. I mean, we have an excellent band. Our choirs, they receive all kinds of awards, and even like the Estedfud. I mean, that's
Oh, gosh.
that's amazing. And we will be losing the elementary music teacher, and she does a great job with the students, and so that's kind of sad.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I don't know. These are just my opinions of. I'm sitting here thinking about what I said initially was our kids have been exposed now to all of these things that bring them up to the level of the big cities and whatnot.
Right.
That didn't exist probably even when we were in school or whatever, and that will all be. Those are those little extra things
Exactly.
that go the extra mile that make our kids on the level playing field. Look at the I think about, oh my gosh, the media team.
Right.
Like, are you kidding me? Like, that is incredible what those kids do. So pay to participate. Let's talk about that for a moment. And who will be having to pay to participate in what?
Yeah, so there's a different amount for different groups. The big sports and programs like band are going to be $250 per kid for the year. And then some of those that take less time for staff, some of the clubs at the high school will be $50.
Right. So basically all of the sports, because they have coaches, and then all of the activities or the extra clubs or programs that they have to pay a coach or a teacher to run the program. I mean, there's money, going into it, so then they will pay. And as Kat said, it'll be a different amount, varies.
Okay, and that includes, now this is if the levy doesn't pass.
Exactly. Everything we've talked about, if the levy passes on May 5th, the teachers will not lose their jobs. The 17 teachers, we will still have tag. We will still have the free lunches and breakfast for all students. We will still have the talented and gifted program. And then also at risk are school counselors. We will be losing a couple of school counselors with this RIF if it doesn't pass. If it does pass, everything on that list that says, will happen, it will not happen.
Yeah. And I think that's fair for people to know. And again, we're just throwing information at you. You all make up your own minds one way or the other. We're not here to convince you one way or the other, just to give you some facts. But that means, back to the pay to participate, I mean, we're talking about things like, the clubs even, the plays, the musicals that we've all had all the kids in this week. Last week was drama here at Main Street TV. We had all the schools in and the Marquee and all of that. All of that you'll have to pay. Now there is a cap, so maybe we should talk about that for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I forget what it is. It's $1,000.
$1,000 per family,
per kid?
or $500 per student. Let's see.
$1,000 cap per family. You said it right, and $500 individual student cap.
Right.
Yeah. So if you're in more than one sport, you're not
Correct. Like, I mean, a student may be in a fall, winter, spring sport, 3 sports, and they would be capped out at the 500. They
Right.
could still participate in the 3, but the most they would be charged would be the 500.
but that's 500 the parents
That's
are
still
going to have to
500.
shell out.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you look at, and then also if it doesn't pass, they're going to pay the pay to participate, but then they would potentially be paying for lunches and breakfast. And so there's, another cost there. So all of those little costs will add up. And I think you just have to sit down and figure out in the long run, is it cheaper to vote for the levy?
Right, which goes back to what we were
Yes.
saying earlier with that 825, I think 825, roughly, if you're that person, it's cheaper obviously to pay the levy than to
Right.
pay for kids to participate. So, plus the lunches and all that stuff, yeah.
Now, there
For
are
sure.
people who don't have kids that, are going to be paying the tax if it passes.
So what are the things you're hearing about that?
Well, I think, first of all, school systems are very important. When businesses and programs and people are looking at areas that they want to move into,
Look at
they're
economic
going to-
development. Look at
Exactly.
that.
They're going to invest in a community. That's one of the very first things they look at, the school system. How effective, what kind of classes, what kind of facilities, what kind of programs are there. So schools are very important to the economic development of the county or of our school district.
Sure.
Yeah, and I think also for the value of your homes, because you
Exactly.
want to, live in a good district so that people want to move here.
Their families here.
Yeah.
Exactly. So,
Yeah, no, that
quite a
makes
few.
total sense. Like I said, a few years ago, we didn't have kids going to Ivy League schools. And
Right.
I mean, you maybe had the one that was exceptional that you were just like, that person's just they're just brilliant.
Right, right,
Always didn't like those people.
right.
No, just kidding. I was envious of those people. Let's say it that way. That all these people that knew what they want to do with their lives and all that.
Early,
I'm
yeah.
still waiting.
When you grow up, you want
Yeah,
to
when I grow up, I'll figure it out. But so no, I think that's really cool. What are some of the other facts that people have asked you about, or concerns, or whatever that we need to get out there?
I just think that the most important ones are the fact that you do have to live in the Jackson City School District. It is an earned income tax, so only if you collect a paycheck, then it would be you would be paying. So no one that is retired, no one on disability, on Social Security, on any retirement system would be paying for this tax.
Right, yes.
I think that's very important. And then we've had the questions. So if it passes, that long list of things that will change, that will not happen for this coming school district, and that is correct. If
Correct.
it passes, all of those things will remain as is,
Yes.
the way it is today. I think that's very important as well.
Yeah, and again, these are all just it is what it is.
Right.
And all the other stuff that people are trying to muddy the waters with, I don't know why everybody tries to make things so complicated.
Yeah, to
But-
speak to the financial side a little bit more, we talked at one of the meet and greets recently about, and you're welcome to go back on Facebook and watch those.
Oh yeah, because you
You're-
guys
Right.
tape those, and then yeah, that's awesome.
Yep, we've been live for all 3, so
Correct.
anybody
Really
can go
cool.
back and get the answers. Maybe not secondhand from me, but we talked a lot about salaries of our administration, which are lower than a lot of surrounding areas. We talked about teacher salaries, how Jackson used to be one of the higher paid districts, but that's not the case anymore. We're actually one of the lower paid districts. I think teachers stay here because they live here and they want to invest in our schools.
Yeah,
I think they realize the good work that
competitive.
they're doing.
yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Agreed.
So,
Which goes back to the kids doing exceptional things.
exactly.
Whether it be sports or academically, or in theater or whatever. Our kids are amazing.
And then we've also talked about facilities, because we do have pretty nice facilities. We have a beautiful stadium. We have a new concession stand at the middle school,
Yay,
which has
finally!
been a topic. Flush toilets are a good thing.
Yes, no more porta potties.
And
It's
sinks
great.
for the concession stand is a really great thing to have. So
I mean, the same concession stand that's been there since, 1960 or something?
A long time.
Yeah.
Long time.
But a lot of the funding that we've had for things like stadiums has been donation, or it's been from a special fund that's for capital improvements. So a lot of that has been explained over the course of the last few weeks.
Well, and if you look at the concession stand that was just built, that was out of the goodness of a lot of people's hearts and pocketbooks.
And that was one of our first questions a lot. We found it, came up quite frequently. And that new concession stand at the middle school, in the football field there, there was some Jackson City School money spent on it, but it was money that came from a fund that could only be used for improvements of buildings, of facilities. And it wasn't that much, actually. But then we had a lot of donations.
Of time, materials.
We had construction that was done for free, materials provided. A lot of people came together to make that happen. And like you said, no more porta potties.
Listen, if anybody thinks it's okay to have to attend a football game and use a porta-john, you're sadly mistaken.
Exactly.
Like, it is not, in today's world, that is not okay. They don't have, especially, we just went through a global pandemic. You need to be able to wash your hands with some hot water and soap.
And try taking your child into one of those, a young child. But it also, where it's situated, will also be open during baseball games. And
okay.
Yes, because they also had the porta-johns over there, so that facility can be used
I didn't even realize
for
that. That's a good
besides the football games at the middle school. It'll
Very
be used
good.
for baseball as well.
Yeah, and that is, you make a good point there. Well, I'll tell you what, we have a video that's very heartfelt from some Jackson students, right?
Right. This was something that they completely did on their own.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that we, had asked them to do. And so it was a surprise when we saw it the first time.
That's really cool. So let's air that here, and it's just kind of, the feelings from the students and what they're thinking. So let's go for that. Oh, okay. I guess our sound wasn't coming through on that. But we will put the link to that video in the comments. And that way y'all can click on it, because it is super duper moving. Like
And I'm
what
tearing
they're
up.
I know what they're saying. And when when you come and you listen to those kids and what being in activities has meant to them, it's pretty incredible.
And they're getting involved with our committee too. We have 3 students on our committee who are getting anyone who's over 18 at the high school signed up and registered to vote.
Right.
And they're doing some cool things.
And that's one of our subcommittees. Yeah, the high school students.
Yeah, and again, I remember that's one of the reasons I was registered to vote so early. I did it in school.
In school, exactly.
And,
Your senior year.
Yeah, senior year. And, it's just one of those things that, it sticks with you. So, well, what have we not covered? Is there anything we haven't covered? Or where do people get more information? Are you having another meeting?
Yeah.
Tell us all of those details.
So we have a committee meeting every Monday at 5:30 at the Jackson City Library in the Potter Room.
Okay,
So
great
that's
place.
Open for anybody to come and join us if you want to get more involved. And then we have a rally in the park, which Tina can talk about.
We are planning a rally in the park on Saturday, April the 18th.
Okay.
It's from 12 noon till 3 o'clock, and we will be providing free lunch to the community. Free lunch. Hopefully, we'll have bouncy houses for the children to play on, and
Or us.
face painting, and a lot of different activities. So we're working on that.
Very
That's our next
cool.
thing.
And we'll keep you updated on all of the stuff that they have
And
going
our
on.
individual committees are all involved in different things too. We have Brian Jarvis leads our sports subcommittee, and so he's targeting a lot of the support groups for any kind of sports at Jackson City Schools or in the community, and providing information. For example, he recently went to the Grand Slam Supper, I believe is what
Yes,
it's called,
yes.
and had flyers at all the tables, and just kind of briefly talked about it there. And Kat, she's been very busy with the choir.
Yeah, we had a choir concert. We had our band Spring
Spring
Fling
Fling.
The Spring
just
Fling,
this
yeah.
past weekend.
Yes.
So we had a table set up there, and then we have the musical this week. So we'll be there, and we're doing outreach at other different community events. So we have a whole list of events that we want to either speak at or pass out flyers at.
April Eifler?
Eifler,
Not
yes.
Eifler. Okay, April. She's wonderful. She is.
She's amazing.
Yes, chairing a committee to reach out to all of the senior
Seniors,
citizens. She's been to Four Winds. She's been to the Cambrian. They've been to a lot of the nursing homes. We're working with senior citizens groups. They're working with Silver Sneakers and different programs. So that's another program, another group. And let's see.
We just started canvassing.
Yes, that is
This week.
Alex Davis Hardy.
I know her.
Yeah, I thought you might.
Yeah.
So she's doing a great job. She's in charge of canvassing and mailing cards, postcards.
Very cool. Very good.
So that started recently.
Yeah, and there's just a whole lot of people involved. I have had several people ask me where to get the yard signs.
Well, we are currly out, but
okay.
we've ordered more. Yes,
That's a good problem,
and
I guess.
We will have yard signs. I believe are due to come in this Wednesday, and you can pick them up at Jackson Farm Bureau or Fulks Insurance, which is just located right beside Burger King.
Okay, right
So
here,
those two
right in front of
offices.
our plaza.
Yeah, exactly.
Here.
Yeah. I would also just like to thank Meredith Harless is chairing our kind of our marketing group, and she has done an amazing job with that.
Yeah.
She's done a whole lot on social media. She has put together some short videos from alumni, Jackson City School alumni, and they've talked about how Jackson City Schools has influenced their choices in life and where they are. So she's done a lot of that, been helpful with the signs and getting. We have stickers and we have fact sheets and just a lot. There's a lot to it, and so she's really worked a lot with that.
And
so she kind of works with all of our programs.
She does, and she's doing a phenomenal job. And you do have social media pages, so what are those titled? Or how do people find them? Just Kids First?
Look for Kids First.
Okay.
Yeah. It's Kids First Committee for Jackson
Yeah.
Public Schools.
And if you
But
follow
if you look
that-
for Kids First,
Yeah.
you'll get all our info.
Just follow that and you'll be able to, and you put the link in the comments, yeah. Okay, so you can get to that, and then if you follow that, you can basically keep up on everything that we've been talking about, or question and answers, or whatever.
And I think too, at our last meet and greet that we had, Phil was very upfront. He said, if you have a question, answered it.
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't hear the answer, or you still have, questions regarding a topic. Just call the schools. Call his office.
Sure.
Give him a call, and he would be happy to speak with you and provide an answer.
And we also do welcome questions through Facebook.
Okay.
Some of them
Yes.
have gotten a little heated, which is fine, but we prefer them to be,
we want to
respectful
give
questions.
the
But
No, and I feel you.
but we're fine with any question, and
Correct.
we'll try to get every question answered.
Yeah,
no matter
certainly
how
if
it
we
comes
don't know it
through.
at the time, we'll research it and get the correct information to put on there. So yeah, you can ask us that way as well.
And I've after doing this show for a few years now, I've found that yes, viewers have the best questions. The people out in the community have the best questions, because sometimes we all get stuck in knowing what we know, and then you can't
Right.
think of everything. So yeah, I'm sure that you
If
all welcome
someone's
that.
willing to come forward and ask a question, someone else surely has the same question too.
Yes,
so we
yes,
we
yes.
welcome all of that dialogue.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, ladies, is there anything else? Would you like to sum it up, or anything else you would like our viewers to know before we get to Pete Wilson and some news?
I would just like to say, if you have questions, let us know. Put it on Facebook. Call Jackson City Schools. I would certainly like to invite everyone to come out on April the 18th, Manpower Park. And we're going to be providing a lot of information and have some activities, especially for the children. So please join us on April the 18th, 12 noon till 3 p.m.
And I'll just say thanks to all of our volunteers that we've had. Everyone has been
yes.
amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people jumped on board and are
Exactly.
working tirelessly for this. And, it's hard sometimes to get all the information out. So I think y'all are doing a great job. Very organized. Pete Wilson and I have talked about this numerous times, how organized this committee is, and that's a really cool thing. It's
Well,
tough to do.
We don't want May 5th to get here and then say, we wish we'd done something else, or we wish we'd have done this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're trying to think of everything that we can to get correct information out to the voters.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, girls, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
stopping by
Thanks for having
today.
us.
It's been so fun talking with you. And again, if you have any questions, reach out to any of the committee members, reach out to the schools. They'll be happy to talk with you.
Yes.
Because it's all about getting the information out there and making sure that you're making whatever decision you make is fine. Just make an informed one.
Correct.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, we do have another message or so, and we'll be back with Pete Wilson in just a moment.
From breaking news to heartwarming stories, the Telegram is your ticket to the latest buzz in town.
Read your daily dose of local headlines, sports, and entertainment and more, in hand and on paper.
Get a print and digital subscription for only $7.95 per month. Delivered fresh every Wednesday and Saturday.
Visit thetelegramnews.com or call 740-286-3023 today.
Don't just read the news, be a part of it.
Did you know Jackson is home to a locally owned and operated full-service print shop? Zip Printing covers all your print, signage, and design needs. From business cards, booklets, and posters to yard signs, banners, screen-printed t-shirts, oversized signage, and more. We can help you or your business advertise and look good doing it. Zip Printing also offers logo design. Allow us to assist you in building or elevating your brand today. Zip Printing is located in the Stockmeister Plaza at 708 East Main Street in Jackson, Ohio. So stop in or give us a call at 740-286-3023.
All right, and we are back with our good friend Pete Wilson, and I think that you have some important stuff to talk about today.
All right. Yes, I do. Myself and Jeremiah Shaver were
among the many media members in attendance at
Yes.
what I would call a grandiose announcement at the Pike County Department of Energy site there near Piketon. This was announced earlier in the week that they were going to do this. We knew it was going to be big. Well, the details came out at this press conference, media event / rally party. It was all those things wrapped up in one on Friday. And I will tell you that it is very big news. It is just not news for that site and what is going to happen there, but for the ripple effects that are going to happen in our entire area, not just Pike County, but in our entire area. We know what an impact the gaseous diffusion plant has had in Pike County since it was started in the early 50s. You're talking about a lot of jobs, a lot of really good jobs that were the backbone of the regional economy, or one of the backbones at least, for a long time. They quit enriching uranium in 2001. Soon after that, they've started a cleanup routine. They call it decommissioning, decontamination, and of course demolition is involved in that too. And that's going to go on for a while, and 2,400 jobs there. But here's the point. At some point, that's going to end. It's not soon. You're not talking about tearing down a shed. You're talking about cleaning up a uranium enrichment site,
Right.
as well as tearing things down. So it's very specialized work. But what they announced is one of the redevelopment projects that is going to be at this site. And this is more than just, it's more than just the typical economic development project of something coming in. The size of this is staggering. Adrian's putting up some pictures from this event. They put up a huge tent there at the site where this new development is going to be. I think they invited all the employees there as well. They were there. A lot of them were in their safety vests even that afternoon. But we had 2 United States cabinet members in President Trump's cabinet. We had the CEO of the Japanese company that's throwing in most of the money, and of course we had just a lot of fanfare. It was kind of like a rally. They had live music, they had food, they had speakers, they had all kinds of graphics, lead-in music when people were coming up to speak. It was upbeat and it was revved. So what is it? They are going to build there the world's largest data center.
Okay.
The world's largest data center. It will be in itself, it will be as big as, if you put all the data centers in the world together, this would be at least half as big. All right.
What?
Okay. It's going to be.
Dude, that thing's going to take up the whole county.
Well, a data center, the typical data center, and this is not typical, is kind of like a big warehouse. That's where data is stored. This picture that you had, I certainly had it, of data being in the cloud. I'm not sure where that phrase came, but it kind of led you to believe that it's kind of like in cyberspace. There's no physicality to it.
Right, like it's just floating around in the air somewhere.
Well, they have to be stored in warehouses.
The cloud is actually, yes, a physical site.
Right. And it has increased exponentially in the last couple years because of artificial intelligence, and it's only going to keep going that way. So this data center, in addition to being huge, is going to be powered. This is the other part of the project, by new gas-fired electric transmission facilities that are going to be built there. They already have gigantic electric facilities there. As a matter of fact, they have enough electric power in that facility before they do any of this to power the city of Los Angeles. That's how much power had to be there for the uranium enrichment operations. Now, one of the negative things that have come out about data centers, and we've learned this because we have a project in Scioto Township that there's a lot of details aren't there, and so everybody's doing their research on the pros and cons and like that. And that is that it sucks so much power from the power grid that you need more power, and as a result, because of demands, costs go up for everybody, not just the fact that there's a data center. Well, the good part of this, according to all this announcement, is they're going to build extra electric transmission power there. 9.2 gigabytes. Now that may mean something to an electric engineer, but it's a ton apparently. And that is going to cover the needs of this data center plus more. They are going to make improvements to the electric transmission lines in the area. And they say not only will costs not go up because of the data center, they should go down because of the extra power that will be available, not only there in the territory of that plant. It's a 6-acre site, not the plant building itself, but I'm talking about the whole Pike County DOE site. Basically stretches from 32 all the way to 23 across a good section of Pike County. But it will actually help the grid in the area. I'm not sure what, quote, the area is, but in that area that would be affected because of this high amount of electricity needed, they will actually have more transmission lines and more power on the grid. And it's a kind of like a supply and demand thing. When you have a lot of something, it shouldn't cost as much.
Right.
And, you know, that's putting it in layman's terms. But all this, Jennifer, are you ready for this? $33.3 billion is going to be sunk in to this project. The other thing that I mentioned at the top of talking about this was the employment. Because you remember, at some point, the cleanup is going to end.
Yes.
And those jobs don't, they're cleanup jobs. Now, there is no enriched uranium at that place since 2001, if you have forgotten. That's been a while. But and that was the reason that it was built back in the 50s. But as far as employment, in the short term, the initial construction of the data center is expected to produce 400 construction jobs with 300 to 400 permanent operational jobs once the data center opens. Now, when the Scioto Township people have done their research, and I have confirmed this, it's not nearly so many jobs, maybe 50, maybe no more than 100 on one of the larger ones. So that gives you an idea on scale how big this data center will be. And there'll be a lot of jobs, 300 to 400 operational jobs once the data center opens. In the longer term, because they're going to continue to develop and evolve because that's the way technology is now, they're expected to create a peak of, ready for this, 35,000 construction jobs.
Whoa.
I'm not sure over what period that is, but between all the construction and the follow-up work, 35,000 construction jobs. Now, those are temporary, but, you know, over time, it's like you might run from one project to another on the construction, and 2,500 operational jobs. By comparison, right now, the figures I've heard through cleanup employment, I've heard 2,000, I've heard 2,400, but it's in that category. So forget the construction jobs, which are going to be so great. Just the operational jobs, the permanent jobs at that site will slightly exceed at least what is there now for the cleanup. And for a while, I had an employee tell me, so this is qualified information, this never came out. An employee there said that the cleanup will probably go at least another 10 years. So you have those jobs plus these new jobs coming in. So for a while, it seems like to me, in my simple mind, that there'll be even more jobs there than there are now until at least the cleanup is done. And I assume that some of the younger workers who are there on cleanup detail may be able to transition into these new high-tech jobs, maybe.
When is this supposed to be built?
One of the speakers at the rally or the press conference, whatever you want to call it, on Friday, said the groundbreaking marked the beginning of construction. Another person said construction will officially begin this summer, and they expect to have this huge data center open. This isn't 2040 or something like this. 2028, early in the year.
Okay. Pretty quick.
I know it's big, but you know, the construction must not be. Maybe it's because the number of construction workers or the type of building it is or whatever. But it should take 2 years or less to build. So so much going on. Also, I should say this: the partners in this, of course, are the Department of Energy, SoftBank Corporation and its subsidiary, SB Energy. That is a Japanese company they are basically putting most of the money into this as an investment.
Okay.
And, they just want to be on top of the AI race in the world. And, of course, this is a partnership with the United States, so the United States is in on it too. And AEP Ohio, which will benefit from all this electric work, they're into it too. And they're happy because when they have to build all these extra transmission lines, and that's money for them to support the plant or to support the new data center, they won't have to put up, maybe with the bad PR of rates going up because of all the extra peak demand.
Okay.
Because SB Energy is throwing most of the money in to make sure that there is more than enough power being generated, being added to support the project and more. Also, they announced, the Japanese company announced, their CEO announced $40 million will be provided for local community support, charitable donations in the community. They didn't say what that local area is, but they're talking about schools and community needs, $40 million. And I don't know when that'll go out and who it'll go out to and whatever, but that was announced and it was said.
All right.
So we will see what happens, but we do have one story online now, an initial story that DOE put out. We gained a lot more information, of course, by attending. We do have a video out on the telegramnews.com that Jeremiah did, and I listened to it over the weekend to write my more detailed news story, and you can pick up what everybody says there. But you had Chris Wright, the United States Secretary of Energy. You had Howard Lutnick, the United States Secretary of Commerce. You had Mayoshi Son, my mayor, and I may not have said that right, the chairman and CEO of SoftBank Group, which, of course, includes SB Energy. You had Mark Ryder, who is the AP Ohio president. You had Ross Hosfeld, who is the SB Energy CEO. You had the Assistant Secretary of Management for DOE. You had Shane Wilkin, the state senator. You had Dave Taylor, this congressman. And you had the president of the Japanese Trade Organization. And so how did all this happen? A lot of the speakers gave credit to President Donald Trump and a trade deal that he made with Japan. And the deal was, you've seen this on the national news about, and there's a lot of controversy about the tariffs. Are they good or bad? But what was said at this rally was that the deal was that Japan, as a country, would get lower tariffs from the United States if they would make major investments in the United States. And this may be the biggest single one.
Who would have thought ever in the history of ever that something that you see in the national news would affect us here locally like that? That's kind of wild.
Right. Well, if you forget the particulars, and I know that they're important, data center, electric generation, more transmission lines, I know we need to pay attention to that, the good and the bad. Seems like to me it's going to be all good. But the important thing, I think, if you think in the big picture, is the jobs and the economic development that this will bring. And I do know from talking to Kevin Shoemaker, he's with the Southern Ohio Diversification Initiative. That's the group that is working on plans to redevelop the site because they knew a long time ago that uranium enrichment, would be phased out after the cleanup work. He told me that there is already one other project that has been announced that we're going to find out about, and he expected others to come. It is a sprawling site.
Okay.
So, they hope to use it, and the electric generation is there, which is important for certain types of development, of course. So, one other thing we wanted to tell you, because I know we're past time, but this happened last night in Wellston overnight. Of course, we had a thunderstorm. We had a lot of wind over the weekend, but apparently there was wind last night too. And sometime overnight, part of the steeple, the roof of the steeple at the Wellston Hope Methodist Church blew off.
Oh my God.
You can see it hanging up there. That's the roof of the steeple. Now, John Stabler, we got with him this morning. He is one of the leaders of the church there. I think he lives almost right across the street. He sent us that picture. He told us, I don't know about damage assessment or whatever, but he did say that the bell in the steeple is okay. The steeple may be okay, the main part of the steeple, but the roof, you see, is dangling like that right now. And, if maybe the storm woke some of us up in the middle of the night, I kind of heard the first part of it before I went to sleep. But it
was rough.
That's the largest structural damage that we know of there in Wellston at the Hope Methodist Church. That's at the corner of First Street and New York Avenue. So lots more to tell you, Jennifer, but we'll try to do some catch up tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, this is
On some of the other things, but
pretty important story to tell.
33.3 billion kind of leads the way there.
Kinda just a
and we
little
will have in Wednesday's paper, we've already worked on it, some really expansive coverage of that because it just seems to me, to this simple editor, that it's pretty doggone important.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. Well, thank you, Pete, for filling us in. That's exciting news.
That is okay.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, we do have, we will be back tomorrow. We have, I think we're going to talk about the big rack hunt, or what is it?
I think it's that.
Something like that. Okay.
You have Jay and Tad.
Jay and Tad. Okay. Yep. They'll be in tomorrow and talk about, well, big rack things. Sounds wild, doesn't it? All right. Well, we will see you then. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll be right back here in the morning. Bye-bye.